Simon Sinek wrote an amazing book called It Starts With Why. And if you've not checked it out, I would advise you to go and check it out and either have a listen to it, or have a read, or whatever takes your fancy. I first came across it as a video on YouTube, and it was one of those things which just kind of struck me and made me understand why marketing can work really well for your business. And while I was thinking about that recently, it got me thinking back to, why do I do the things that I do? Why do I go out and talk to people about business and about marketing and about coaching and mentoring? Why is it that I do that? And I wanted to share that with you today. So I was born with spina bifida and a club foot, which meant that from a young age I had 2 fairly decent bits of surgery at least before I went to school. And they did a great job. The surgeons were amazing. They gave me a back and a foot which has functioned pretty much all the way through to where I am now in the mid-40s, and hopefully continue from that place forward. But it wasn't until I got to the age of 20 that I had problems which needed further medical intervention. When I was 20, I went out for a weekend in Paris with my dad and a few friends, and I ended up walking quite far that night, and I'd had a little bit to drink. And that walking, combined with something called neuropathy, which is a loss of sensation, meant that I ended up with a big ulcer in my foot. Now, I didn't know that I had neuropathy up until that point. And so after initially going to see my nurse at the local doctor's surgery, she treated me for a while, and then she referred me on to a podiatrist. And at that point, I didn't know what a podiatrist was. And it was that podiatrist who healed my foot for me and got me back up to a foot which functioned as well as it was going to. They also helped with an ulcer I had about 8 years later, and they healed that one too. But it was my first introduction to podiatry and what it could do to help people. Even though I'd had that experience, it was going to be another few years before I retrained to be a podiatrist. And I worked as a podiatrist both on the NHS at different levels. I did a master's degree, I had my own business, I ran that and sold that. And then I turned to coaching and mentoring, and there was a particular reason why I did that. And that reason is I wanted to help as many people as possible to understand exactly where to go if they had a foot or leg problem. Because let's face it, podiatry, foot health, whatever you want to call it, in the UK is not well known as an industry, as a profession, and we have a lot of people who really don't know where to go for their foot health, and they end up going to the GP, or they go to another professional. And because we're not so good at marketing ourselves and promoting ourselves, and we get a little bit shy about it, people don't know where to come to get the best possible treatment for their problem. And while I was promoting my own practice, I kind of realised that other people weren't doing it in the same way. Other people weren't putting themselves out there the same way. And I made a decision to sell my practice so I could concentrate and focus on helping other people with their businesses, with their marketing, with their mindset, with all their personal development. And this comes back to my why. And it's a question I ask myself a huge amount, is how can I make sure that everyone with a foot problem knows exactly where to go for the health of their feet? And for me, it's quite a simple answer. And that answer is you make sure that everyone is educated in how to deal with foot problems. Everyone who's involved in the industry knows exactly what they need to do and where they fit into that whole pathway. But also, people know how to promote themselves and how to talk to the general public and talk to the world about what they do and the difference it can make to people. So put it this way, if I was 20-year-old Dave again, I mean, I'd love to be 20 years old again, but if I was 20-year-old Dave and I didn't know who to go to get my ulcer sorted, the outcome could have been far different. I could have ended up with an ulcer which didn't heal. I could have ended up with an amputation. I might not have met my wife and had gorgeous children and had the career that I've had so far and had the opportunity and the choice. It may have left me with fairly severe mental health issues and depression. And it's not to say that that would have happened, but why would I want to take the chance? To be in that position again, I would want to know exactly who to go to, what they could do, how they could help. And I'd want to know, if they aren't the person who can help me, that they know exactly who to send me to. And I think we're a distance away from that. We've still got a long way to go to make sure that everyone knows exactly where to go for the health of their feet. Not just the general public and people, but within our industry as well. And that is why I do the things that I do. So I would encourage you to look back at the things that you do, to look at your business and look at your life and look at everything around it, and understand why you do the things that you do. Why did you become that person? Why did you do that job? Why did you train to do it? Why is it you get up in the morning and do the things that you do? Because that why is massively powerful. And when you find out that why, share it with people, because that why will help you to connect with your audience, connect with your patients and your customers and your clients on a much deeper level. And I can guarantee you've got a why which is just massively inspirational, and I would love to hear it.